Okay, so this is how I won my 1400 game against the 1394 as at the beginning of the game. It is the Giuoco Piano, and I checkmated, of course, not without blunders for 1300s and 1400. But yeah, it was opposite side castling. It's actually the first time I tried it. So it started as the normal book uh, opening, you know, bishop c5. I don't want to get into the complications. So he castled very quickly, and I took my time to decide if I would go castling or just continue with the theory and then decide on whether I was going to castle on the opposite side. I haven't castled on the opposite side in this opening, and I was not having the confidence to do so, but I still continued. I mean, I want to develop my chess, so I have to leave my options open to the best move every time. And that's what I did. I just developed and we continued to play. Of course, D6. And at this point, I was really like hoping to get the pin, just a book pin to try and win the game early and score some points. But then he prevented it, or she prevented it. And then I also, booked in, also tried to prevent my own pin, although the knight isn't out. But I thought, okay, I don't want to forget, and I don't want any first castling if he's gonna jump his knight to g5 and escape hatch for his bishop. Well, I was also keen. I decided to go for the attack. I still wasn't confident, but I thought it was necessary at this point. So I went for the attack, and I had made up my mind that I was going to castle queenside if there's no pawn, storm on the queenside. So there wasn't, and I was like, okay, so yeah, I most probably will go to queenside. And then I didn't want the bishop pin on my king since I hadn't castled, so I also don't want a double pawn or first bishop move to the long diagonal. And then the knight came in, that scared me a bit, and I was like, okay, just go for the bishop. And there was this jump. I never expected it because I mean I was just gonna capture the knight anyway. I need my own knight to jump to squares, and I saw that that was gonna double its pawn, and I might be able to attack the pawn a second time. So I grabbed the pawn, and that was it. So now I'm attacking the center pawn twice. And at this point, I was like, why go for the pawn? Maybe I could just do something with the king side. Since I didn't see any tactics that could come on my king at this time. So I decided to go long castling, safeguard my king first before I start to open the king side. And so after this attack to save my bishop, I needed that pin. The pin on the f6, on the f2 pawn was so important for me. I really needed that pin to stay. And I saw the pawn break and a hanging knight, but I was like, I'm not going to take it anyway. Except it's going to sacrifice pieces, I wouldn't take it. So I decided to go for the um, I decided to go for the to prepare for castling. I was expecting some form of sacrifice and maybe one way or the other attack my hanging knight, pin my king in the center. I was just looking at so many things that I think my opponent didn't consider. I mean, we were both like 1300. I was 1401. He was 13, and my opponent was 1390. I think 93 or 94. I don't remember. And yeah, so we're not like GMs, but we had ideas, as you can see. Um, yeah, so the sponsor came. I was confident that at this point, if I do castle, I was gonna get a win. So I was ready to make the sacrifices. And then the pawn break came. Uh, this was scary for me. This was scary for me. I was like, where will my queen go, And I don't want to force the opening of house on the king side. Remember, this was the first time I was castling queen side in the Giuoco Piano, and I was like, okay, just avoid everything. So this was what I did. So even if he had pushed to attack my bishop, I probably would have taken with bishop and used the bishop to block. the open file. And at this point, I felt I was winning. I just had the feeling that I was going to win this game. I didn't know how, but I was confident that I was going to win this game. So I was not going to open that diagonal for him. So I preferred my diagonal to be closed and push the Olin piece that was on the center into the far ranks. I wasn't sure if it was going to go to H2 or D2 or even E1. That's the knight E1. So it went to it went to D2, and at this point, I felt I was clearly winning. Look at my pieces, they look very active. They could move into different squares. So immediately after this move, I added another piece. Yes, I could have just pawn pushed and continued with the attack, but I wasn't confident at all. I saw the f6 coming and I was like, I'm just going to kick the knight. Still pushing the knight somewhere he doesn't want to go. So I just felt everything should be closed and I would open when at my own time, when I'm confident enough and I can really see my attack. So at this point with the knight, with my knight now on g6, I could clearly see my attack. And then for some reason, my opponent played c3, and I was wondering what the attack was. I just couldn't understand it. Was it trying to move its king to, double attack my pawn? I was going for, a checkmate. I was going for king attack, and he's playing a queen pawn move. I didn't understand it. Blocking the diagonal bishop that I was even scared of. I was like, okay, let's just see what happens. And then I went for the pawn. I really hoped and hoped that the queen was not going to jump in, but the king was going to move. I was more or less playing my opponent right now. You should try to do so when you're lowly rated like this, because if you keep expecting too much from your opponent, you're gonna like make a lot of mistakes. So I was preempting my opponent to make some bad moves as well, and this is exactly what happened. And I knew at this point I was winning. So with this pawn break, I knew something was going to happen. And even if it's going to defend that pawn with the rook, there were all sacrifices, different sacrifice was available. Look at his pieces. He kind of blocked his own pieces with his own pawn. And I didn't go for the free pawn. So I was so happy I never went for the free d5 pawn. I just left it there because the bishop wasn't doing anything. And even if the bishop pulls back at this point in time, I just felt it was winning for me at this point. It was a well prepared win. It was slow. I mean, GMs would have done this in a much prettier fashion. But yeah, for me, I just knew that at this point in time, this was a clear win for me, and I was gonna move up in rating. So he did play the rook to. He did play the rook to g1, trying to protect the pawn. That's not possible. It's a pin after I take. So when I took that pawn, I think at this point I was just so confident that the mate was coming through. I knew a mate was coming through. The only escape hatch was to move that rook to prevent mate at least and play on and see if I could blunder in future. But instead, he attacks my bishop to block the guy. I mean, the diagonal is already blocked. What does he want to do? Get my bishop and queen? Just making one, and that was what I did. So this game actually did boost my confidence in questioning Queenside in the Giuoco Piano, and I think I'm just gonna keep considering it. Thank you for watching, and I'm happy with my rating right now. And see you in my next video.